time for Cigar Talk, the fastest growing cigar show in the nation. Whether you're a new cigar enthusiast or a cigar aficionado, we have something for everyone, bringing you the best interviews, cigar reviews, and weekly giveaways. So grab yourself a cigar.
It's time to light 'em up.
Welcome back, Cigar Talk. I'm your host, Rob Jones. We're in the studio today. We have our co-host, Bryant Falconer, with us. How you doing today, Bryant?
Hey, man, I'm doing good,
Nice, man. So how's your week been?
It's been a blessed week, man. On vacation still.
Yeah. Every time I see you, you're at the one place I know you'll be.
The Leaf.
That's
baby,
right.
The Leaf.
And what a great place to hang out.
Yes, sir.
If you guys get an opportunity to come through Abilene, if you're not from here, definitely go by the Leaf. Say hello to Jay and Scott, Deb and Dwayne. Great staff.
Most definitely.
Great humidor.
Oh.
I mean, I've been to a lot of shops, and I got to say that their humidor is one of the most impressive humidors
Most
because
definitely.
they carry all the normal standard brands that everybody carries, but they also have a huge selection of boutiques.
Yes, sir.
And plus, I mean, I've never been to California, but our prices are like a third of what they have out there.
We've heard that firsthand from a friend of ours.
But even when I go to other cigar lounges, I mean, I go to a lot of cigar lounges that are in bigger towns.
Yes, sir.
So, of course, their cigars are going to be a little more expensive because they got higher rent.
Yeah.
So that's another benefit you have at Abilene is, I guess, because it's a smaller town, we're not paying the high prices in rent. Because, I mean, you can imagine the difference in rent in downtown Abilene versus downtown Dallas.
Tell the truth.
You know what I mean?
Tell the truth, yeah.
So they're not passing that expense on.
I know, sir.
So I think that the Leaf has the best selection and really the best prices retail-wise.
As I've seen. I haven't seen anybody better right now.
Yeah, so if you get the chance, go by, say hello to Jay at the Leaf. They do a great job. And if you go by there, you might even get to meet Corey, the ghost partner.
Yeah, the ghost partner. Space ghost.
Hey, so let's go ahead and jump right in. What
Yes,
are you
sir.
smoking today?
Today I'm smoking an LFD Chisel, Lahara.
Nice.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
This is my congratulations stick, my victory stick, because my 49ers put 51 up today.
You know, I'm going to have to give you guys props.
Uh-oh.
You know what? And
You?
Yeah. You guys are knocking it out, dude. 7-0.
Yes, sir.
And I really didn't see that coming at all. Now, I got to ask you this because I really don't keep up with the 49ers. Have they played anybody?
We played better teams than somebody else did.
Well, that's what I mean, though.
Yeah,
so
have.
that you are playing solid competition and still winning.
And they projected Carolina to do better than they did today. 13 points.
But they didn't project them to win.
Oh, no.
So,
Nah.
that was just a beatdown.
No, yeah.
But I was just wondering, because Carolina's not really, a top 15 team.
Not anymore.
Yeah, not
anymore.
Tell
the truth.
Not for the
anymore.
rest of the season.
Yes, sir.
So, anyway, hats off to the 49ers. Cowboys are off this week, so that was a win for us. We didn't get beat. So, you know what? I'm going to have a victory drink to that.
I hear you, brother. You're going to get some more of this. What is it?
This is Springbank.
Yes,
it's Scotch. And I tell you what, if you haven't had it, Ed bought that. And I tell you what, it's a Scotch that has no machines and no computers. It's all handcrafted. And it's the last Scotch distillery that does everything by hand, no computers. They do it all. And I tell you what, it's smooth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, it doesn't have that sweetness that I'm used to, but it's definitely good and it's so smooth. You're just like, because when you get ready to take a drink, you're kind of preparing yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, there is no bite there. So thank you, Ed, for that bottle.
Yeah,
It's a great spirit. We're enjoying it. And then I am smoking my father's Lee Bijou 1922.
There you go.
It's late in the evening. Thought I'd go with something bold.
Yeah.
And I haven't had one in a while. I'm smoking the Robusto size. I tell you what, I've really just become a lover of the Robusto, the Petites, the Coronas.
Okay.
Those smaller ring gauges are just really speaking to me right now. So I'm enjoying that. And it pairs really nice with this Springbank.
Growing your palate and your options.
Yeah, right?
I hear you.
So let's get on with, let's say thank you to the Patreons.
Most definitely.
This is the first week that we're recording with the new soundboard.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully you guys will notice a difference and upgrade in the sound quality.
Yes, sir.
I hope that it sounds as good as it sounds in the headphones. So, I always sound good, but now you actually sound good.
Man.
It takes a lot of money to make you sound good.
No, sir.
So anyway, let's talk about our sponsor right quick.
Most definitely.
McAuliffe Cigars sponsors the show. We're very blessed to have them. Man, I love so many cigars in their line, and I just can't say enough about the family and the team that runs that company.
Most definitely.
We got to meet them at the cigar event a few weeks ago and hang out with them. And although it was super busy, with that family and with that team, they still took the time to enjoy socially with everyone. You know what I mean?
They made time for the people that were there because they understood that it was them that they were the reason.
Yeah.
They were the reason, and they made sure that they spent as much time as they could with the people. They did.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
And I mean, and you saw how busy they were.
Oh, yes.
I mean,
yes.
I'm going to say that McAuliffe Cigars was one of the reasons that was such a huge, successful event.
Yes, sir.
And to be so busy putting on a great event, they also still took time to socialize and get to know
With
the
everyone.
people. You know what I mean?
Everyone.
So anyway, we just want to say thank you to McAuliffe for sponsoring the show.
Thank you.
And if you get an opportunity to try McAuliffe, I guarantee you will not disappoint.
From 4 to 42.
From 4 to 42. Can't beat it. So anyway, let's talk about, before we get on with the show, well, let me just tell you what's coming up. Later on in the show, we have Maggie Kimbrell on the show. She is the content editor of American Whiskey Magazine.
Yes, sir.
And she has a lot of knowledge, and she also actually writes a column on pairings with cigars and whiskeys. So she has a lot of content information and knowledge. I didn't know that when I asked her to be on the show. I just thought she was like an expert on spirits or whiskey, actually. And then found out that she did pairings, and I was like, wow, isn't that just luck?
Those conversations that you have, man, and it expounds into something else, and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. For real?
And, it also shows the commonality of how many people enjoy both of those together.
Oh, yes.
So, and we talked about it a little bit later. You can listen to the interview. I don't want to spoil it, so we'll go ahead and move on.
Yes, sir.
Then after Maggie, we're going to have Adam. He's one of our Patreons. He was the one that won the contest a few weeks ago.
Yes.
We're going to visit with him a little bit on the show, so we'll have them a little bit later. And so right now, let's get to our top 3 cigar picks of the week. And let me qualify this before we start, because I was talking to a good friend, and he was like, well, what makes you an expert to pick the top 3 cigars of the week? And you know what? Here's what I responded.
Okay.
When you smoke
as many
8 to 10 cigars a day,
You
it's
have
not that I would say I'm the expert to tell you the best cigars. I'm just saying what I think was the most enjoyable cigars for me of the week.
Tell the truth.
So it's like, I'm not telling you that these are the top 3 cigars in the United States. These are the top 3 cigars that I smoked. And because I smoked a ton of cigars, then it really speaks volumes to, well, he smoked. And, I don't smoke 8 different cigars every day. Sometimes I might smoke 2 or 3 of the same one, Medallia. And so, I'm just saying that because he was like, well, what makes you an expert to pick top 3 cigars? And I said, well, it's not that we're being experts. It's that we smoke a lot of cigars.
Tell the truth.
So in a week's time, it's a great idea to pick 3 that you really, really enjoy.
You really love that week. And this is my interpretation of my feeling on what was the best 3 I had this week.
Right.
And that's all I'm trying to pass off. It's not that I'm trying to pass myself off as an expert. No, because I know I'm not an expert.
So you know what I say?
What's that?
Take that, Cigar Man official. Anyway, so let's get started.
I love them.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So tell me what your top 3 were this week.
Number 1 was the McAuliffe Grande Bold Matafina.
That is a great stick. And I'll tell you what, because I'm so in love with the Medallia right now, I haven't gone back to that stick in a while, and that is a really good smoke.
It was a real good smoke this week. I took a few pics of it and put it on my Instagram with me, and I enjoyed it all the way through. I did, man.
Yeah, it's a really unique cigar.
Yes, sir.
It's kind of like that crossover for me to the Sumatra.
Okay, yes.
You know what I mean? It's both of those are like not always on my radar, but then when I smoke them, I'm like, oh, wow, I need to come back to this more often.
Yeah.
Great smoke.
The second one was the Nat Cinco, number 4.
Now, which one is that? Is that the one that's up in the front counter?
Yes, sir.
That's a great smoke. And I met those guys at the event.
enjoyed this thing, man.
Yeah, it really is a good smoke. And I'll tell you what, it's a great value.
Oh, yeah. And I got I bought a couple of them, and the second one is still sitting in the humidor, and I'm not going to touch that for a while. I'm just going to let it sit because the taste, the complexity, everything about that stick, I was just like, you know what? I'm not going to smoke my
and
second one.
the construction's great on those.
Man.
I've never
Twist
had
on
a
the
bad
end.
one. Yeah.
No, me neither. The foot was perfect. The
And
light. I mean, cold draw off of it. I used my the select draw on it. I used two prongs of the select draw on it. I got a perfect cold draw. I was like, man, this is cool. Smoked it, construction straight down, beautiful ash, great taste. I was just like, you know what? I'm not smoking the second one yet.
Nice. Well, I'll tell you what, they're a great value because I believe, I want to say that's like a $7.40 cigar.
Yes,
and I would say, and I mean, I'm just ballparking this figure, but I'm going to say that, and you know how many cigars there are. I mean, we don't know how many there are particularly, but let's just say in the humidor at the Leaf,
yeah.
that is probably a top 25 cigar.
Yeah.
And
in the Abilene area, yes.
And to be in the $7 range is a steal.
Mm-hmm.
So hats off to the guys who make those cigars. I met them at the event.
Yeah,
super nice guys.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, what do you got for number 3?
Number 3 was the Placencia Reserva Original.
Dude, that is a great coffee cigar.
Yes. I was drinking coffee at the time.
Oh, very nice.
I sat there, I put it on Instagram also. You know, it was a great cool down stick. Like I said, I'm on vacation this week, so I'm not trying to have any stress.
And he's on vacation next week.
Oh yeah. It's been 3 weeks, but yeah, it was the opportunity to just sit there in that chair, man, and just zone out. I put my headphones in and sat back there, and people were talking to me, and I was like, huh, what? No, man.
Hey,
I was in my own zone, and I loved it.
All right,
those were my 3.
There's your 3. Hey, all 3 of those are good smokes. Yeah. If you haven't had the opportunity to try one of those, definitely give them a try because, and I'm impressed. Bryant's palate has really evolved, and I'm just going to say I'm impressed. He's selecting fine tobacco premium cigars.
I'm still smoking Monte Cristos.
Well, you know, some people, it's kind of like a heroin addict.
No,
it's hard.
Nowhere near a heroin addict. Nowhere near.
So, you know, I'm just going to go ahead and state, because I went down to Lubbock last night.
Yes, sir.
Got to hang out with some really good brothers of the Leaf over at Smokers Haven. Randy Baker put together a poker game, and we all went up there and played. And I tell you what, they have a tobacconist that works there. His name is Ron.
Okay.
Dude. Good tobacconist.
That's what you want.
I mean, I didn't know him. He's younger. And so I think I met him once before, but, you know, I didn't really get to know him.
Okay.
And so I'm like, hey, man, I'm going to go in the humidor and pick out a stick. And he's like, okay. He hops up and goes in with me. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't really need somebody to go in there.
I don't need to use car salesman.
You know what? Right. But he wasn't that way at all.
Okay.
He was like, so what are you in the mood for? You want something light, medium, full? And I was like, you know what? I'm just getting started in the evening. Let's, you know. And then all of a sudden I saw the medallia out of the corner of my eye, and I said, oh, I found it. And I just picked it up, and he was like, oh, that's a great stick.
Yeah.
So, you know, no big feat there because, you know, I'm a medallion guy.
Man. Yeah.
But we sat down and started playing cards, and after I finished that cigar, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get something else. And he hops up and goes in there with me, and he's like, hey, are you looking for something a little stronger this go around? Or I said, no, I'm really in a medium mood tonight. So he picked out, actually it's on my list of cigars of the week, and it's the my father's. Let me see which one it is. Oh, it's the Flor de Los Antillas.
Yeah, Antillas. Yeah.
And I tell you what, that cigar blew it out of the park as well. And it's been probably 2 or 3 months since I've had one of those.
Okay.
And it was one of those cigars I lit up, and I forgot how smooth and velvety the wrapper was. I mean, it was nice. And I bought it in the Robusto size, which, you know, I'm on that kick. And I tell you what, I told him like probably 3 or 4 puffs in, I was like, good choice, man. Good choice. And so it's nice to have a tobacconist.
That's what a tobacconist is for.
Walk you into the humidor. And, you know, because I'm going to say this also. I've been to some cigar shops where the guy working as a tobacconist is not really a tobacconist.
No,
you know what I
he's
mean?
a salesman.
He's a salesman, and he's just, trying to be polite.
Yeah.
But Ron knows his business.
That's good.
So, I had 2 tobacconists that I really counted on. Now I've got 3.
Okay.
And so, Ron, great job at Smokers Haven up there. And also, man, the poker game was fantastic. Hanging out with Brothers of the Leaf and smoking cigars, drinking some good bourbon, and playing cards was a blast. And my best friend Tim got to come over and play with us. Yeah,
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
hopefully you get to go up there and do that again with those guys soon.
See, I'm not a poker player, man.
Yeah, well,
I'm from the hood. We
I
shot
know.
dice.
You shot dice.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That's how you wanted to gamble. You shot dice. So that was it.
All I can tell you is I had a great time with a bunch of great guys.
And that's perfect.
And I'll tell you
that's what I love.
Dude, and forgive me because I don't remember his name, but we had a guy there. He didn't even play. He just dealt for us.
Okay, so the dealer.
Dude,
I got you.
That is so unusual at a private game, because usually we all take turns dealing, and I hate that because I don't like dealing. It's not that I'm bad at it, I just don't enjoy it. And then there's always, like, if you got 5, 6, 7, 8 guys playing, there's always one guy that can't shuffle and deal, and you're just like, dude, you are slowing down the game. So, but anyway, it was really nice having a full-time dealer. And while he was dealing, whenever we were making our moves, he was shuffling another deck, so we never had to wait for the next hand. It was really nice.
He kept the flow going, which kept the game fun. And interesting.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and there was a lot of good characters there. Ron played, Randy played. I can't recall the other guys' names, but we had a lot of fun.
That's cool. That is real cool.
Oh, and Tim played, of course.
Okay, yeah.
But anyway, so let's get on to my cigar number 3.
We went way off.
Yeah, it was way off track. But anyway, I just wanted to say thank you to Randy for the invitation. We had a great time. So anyway, the number 3 cigar is a new cigar that I've never had until this week. And I got to tell you, I wasn't expecting much, and it really caught me by surprise.
Okay, what is that?
It's from Villager.
Villager?
Yeah, Villager. And it's the La Libertad.
Please tell me you didn't didn't murder that name.
It's the La Libertad. No, there's no R in there. Let me try that again. It's from Villager, and it's the La Libertad.
Bitad, okay.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm saying that correctly, but anyway, I got to say, I looked it up after I smoked it because I was so impressed with it.
Okay.
And I believe it scored like a 93.
Oh, that's a
so
good
I was
score.
like, wow. So it was good, and
not just to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyway, those are my 3 cigars for the week. I think they're all great sticks. And I'll tell you this, it's funny because all 3 sticks are mediums. None of those are full. I would say the medallion is a little bit medium full, but they're still medium sticks. None of them were the full blown like this.
That
Lee
is
Bijou.
so out of your character.
Right.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, I'm really in that zone lately.
Growing your palate. Yes, sir.
Okay, guys, so let's shift gears here. And there's something that I want to talk about, and I think it's important because I think everywhere you go, when you run into a brother of the leaf, you have that common bond. It's a lifestyle.
Yes, it is.
And so what bothers me is when I go somewhere and I run into brothers of the leaf everywhere, it's like, first of all, there's respect.
100%. Yeah.
And then second of all, it's kind of like your open arms because we have this bond and we understand the lifestyle.
Oh, yes.
And because you can go hang out at a lounge and there may be a guy that comes in and politically you completely disagree with everything he has to say.
But you still can have a great conversation.
You have a great conversation. And you're not a jerk to him.
No.
You know
correct.
what I mean? You have you can sit down and have a civilized conversation.
Yes, most definitely.
But let's flip that around, and I see 2 brothers of the leaf talking on, say, social media, Facebook, and it's the old telephone tough atmosphere.
Yeah.
And, I think we need to practice the golden rule, whether we're in person or online.
Yeah.
Because you know what? There's tons of people out there that you may disagree with, but when you come into the fold of the brothers and sisters of the Leaf, we need to still show respect for each other.
100%, because that's what the community is about.
Well,
it's about camaraderie.
And you let's just look at me and you, for instance. We don't agree on a lot of things.
That's true.
But we always show each other respect.
100%.
We always get along very well.
Yeah, we're great friends.
We're great friends.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when you start bashing on somebody online, you don't know their story.
No, you don't.
You haven't walked a mile in their shoes. And so I would ask you to step back and refrain from getting nasty.
It doesn't show, for one, it puts a black eye on the environment, the Brother of the Leaf community. It puts a black eye on it. It also doesn't give you any, as we say, props. It doesn't put you higher than anybody.
Absolutely.
It doesn't put you better than anybody.
Well, when I see that, I actually have a negative outlook on the people who are doing that.
I guess I could say mine is negative too, because I look at it and I'm not judging, but I'm looking at it as, how dare you?
Yeah. Who do you think you are? We all have our own backgrounds.
Most definitely. Everybody has their own struggle.
Right.
And just because you feel, or you put yourself in a position where you feel that you're better, or you can look down upon somebody, I dare you bring that to the Brother of the Leaf or the Sisters of the Leaf.
Absolutely.
Because that's not us.
No.
That's 100% not us. And if you feel that way, then you need to step back, about face, and exit yourself, because that's not what we're looking for.
Right.
It's not.
Right.
It's not. I can't explain how many times I've gone to the Leaf and struggles I've had, and I'm able to sit down and just vent.
Right.
And people listen and they say, you know what? Okay, I understand what you're saying. And then in the end, they may give me a little bit of their perspective, so something I didn't see in it.
Right.
And now I can go in. That's what it's about. It's an uplifting community.
Absolutely. I agree 100%.
Yeah, bro, I'm not on that. Nah.
I just say, you know, I haven't seen people get ugly in person at cigar lounges, but I've noticed that on Facebook. And so, you know, I just want to step back and just say, hey, don't forget, we're Brothers of the Leaf, and let's not go that route. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's that Facebook hero syndrome.
Exactly.
Man. And people want to be superstars, and they want everybody to see them differently than they are. And then you walk up and you look at the person, and they have the lowest self-esteem you've ever understood. And you're like, okay, you were not Clark Kent, but you were the alter ego of the Clark Kent on Facebook. But I'm looking at you, and you really teenage Clark Kent.
Right.
Bro, come on, man.
And you know, here's the thing is, and a lot of people get on Facebook and they're very passionate about their beliefs. And I get that. Yeah. But what difference are you making on Facebook by doing that?
None.
You know what I mean?
None.
I mean, you know what I see is everybody who agrees with you piles on, and everybody who is passionately against you piles on. And the people like me in the middle are just like, next. You know what I mean? I don't have time for that.
It's true. Very true.
You know, it's almost like when you're standing in line at the grocery store and you see the National Enquirer on the shelf. You know what I'm saying.
The sun or the star, yeah. Look at those lines.
Yeah, well, and it's like you're looking at a train wreck.
Oh, most definitely, man. Most definitely.
Anyway, we just wanted to say, hey, man, your Brother of the Leaf, represent
the correct way.
Right.
The correct way.
So, anyway, hey, coming up next, we've got Maggie from the American Whiskey Magazine, and right after that, we'll have Adam, so stick with us. We'll be right back after the break. Hey guys, thanks for hanging through the break. We have a special guest with us. We have the content editor from American Whiskey Magazine with us. Her name is Maggie Kimbrell. How are you doing today, Maggie?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, well, thank you for taking the time to join us. We're really excited. I was looking over the website, and it looks like you guys have a lot of cool information. I recently got into bourbon seriously, probably about 6 months ago. So I'm very new. I'm very in the learning stages. So we are excited to have you on the air and talk some tips.
All right. Well, and I have to say, we're happy to have you to the bourbon family. It's a really fun journey. You're going to have a lot of fun.
It really is, because prior to smoking cigars, my only experience was doing shots of Jack Daniels. So that tells you, that was way long time ago.
Everybody has that phase. That's okay. We all work past it.
Right.
Everybody at your own pace.
So how long have you been the content editor at American Whiskey Magazine?
So American Whiskey Magazine is a pretty new magazine from an old publication house.
Okay.
So the parent company is Paragraph Publishing, which also publishes Whiskey Magazine. So Whiskey Magazine is probably a title that a lot of your listeners are more familiar with. And we launched American Whiskey Magazine in the summer of 2018. So it's been a little over a year that it's been out. And I have been the content editor since around the beginning of the year, probably I think March was when that finally came out. And, it's just been really fun and exciting building a magazine from the ground up.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I was looking at your website. It's really well done. If anybody wants to check out their website, it is AmericanWhiskeyMag.com. And looks like you got a lot of great articles. I like the, Thirsty Thursdays?
Yeah, that's something that our content executive, Phoebe, does. So she's doing a lot of like cocktail content and stuff like that. So that's been really fun as well.
Okay, cool. So I wanted to hit you up and find out about maybe some price point bourbons, like under, say, $35 that you think is like a really good bourbon that maybe a lot of people don't know about.
Yeah. So do you want to hear about bourbons in general or bourbons that go well with cigars? Or are we going to cover both of those?
I would like to cover both if you have the time.
Okay, perfect. So what I'll do is I'll start with, value bourbons. So one thing that you have to remember when you're talking about value bourbons is that during the 60s, 70s, 80s, early 90s, that was a really tough time for the bourbon industry. They were competing with vodka, beer, and wine. And, when you're looking at a bottle of premium vodka on the shelf next to a bottle of bourbon, and you see vodka, which can be made in a day and bottled tomorrow and on the truck going to the store 3 days after, the grains were harvested from the field, basically, and you're paying the same amount for something that has to sit in a barrel for, 6 to 10 to 12, 15, however many years. When those things are the same price next to each other on the shelf, that means that the price of that whiskey is being kept artificially low to compete with the more popular spirits at the time.
Okay.
And so, when we started the bourbon boom, there were still a lot of really amazing bottles of bourbon that you could get for $12. I kid you not. You could get amazing bourbon, especially in Kentucky. We had a lot of bottled in bond. The Heaven Hill bottled in bond was one of the cult favorites, and they just did away with that last year, and I kid you not, it was $12.99.
Yeah,
it was
it's funny that
4-year bonded.
It's funny that you bring that one up, because I was traveling earlier and I was listening to a bourbon podcast, and they were talking about 5-6 years ago you could get that for like $8.99.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
And there's been a big uprising about taking it away, because something about they're going to bring it back under a different name or something.
And they have brought it back. I actually am looking at a bottle on my desk right now. They brought it back. I'm sorry. I think I said it was a 4-year. I believe that one was a 6-year. They brought it back as a 7-year Heaven Hill bottled in bond. And I believe the price point is around $40 now, which is still a really great deal for that bottle. It's a phenomenal bottle. So when you're talking about value bourbons, there's a whole, you kind of have to understand the category a little bit. So in order to be called bourbon, it has to fulfill all of these regulations. So to be straight bourbon, it has to be distilled from a minimum of 51% corn. It has to be, nothing but pure water added to adjust for proof. It has to be aged in charred oak brand new containers. So you can't use used barrels or anything like that. And, it has to be distilled no higher than, I think, 160 proof, barreled no higher than 125 proof. And so there are all these regulations that go into what can be called bourbon. And when you're talking about value bourbon, a 4-year-old bourbon is still a good bourbon because it has all these regulations on it. So when you look at something that says straight bourbon, especially if it says Kentucky straight bourbon, just because we've been doing it longer than most people, you're pretty much always going to get a pretty decent product. There are some people out there doing some funky things, and so you can't really say, everything that says bourbon is automatically great, because there are some people that are doing some funky things. There are some people that are doing some weird things, and all this falls under the category of bourbon. I had a bourbon the other day that it wasn't bad. It was just very different. Had a secondary grain. Oh, here, I've got the note right in front of me. Let me pull this out and see. Millet was the secondary grain. And so that was a really interesting one. It was very different. So value bourbons that are under, $30, $40. I love, like the Four Roses used to be called Yellow Label, just the standard Four Roses. I'm pretty sure, like a standard Maker's Mark is probably around $30, $35 at this point. I haven't worked in the liquor store for a while, so
no
my
problem.
pricing may be a little old.
Well, I know that I love the Four Roses, just the standard, and the small batch is great too, but the standard Four Roses is just such a great value.
It really is. It really is. And there are just so many great value bourbons. And it really, people always ask me what kind of bourbon should I buy? And I have to tell them, send me a picture of what's on the shelf at your store, because there's a lot of stuff that I can get in Kentucky that you all can't get anywhere else. I think you're in Ohio. Is that right?
No, I'm way down in Texas.
Oh, you're way down in Texas. Okay, so it's same kind of situation. I mean, and there's some great bourbon being made down in Texas even. I went down there to visit the Treaty Oak Distillery last fall, and they're doing some really great stuff. I particularly love their rye.
Okay.
And they're really great folks. So yeah, I mean, they're pretty much, if you're talking about legacy brands, Wild Turkey 101, that's a great bottle. And I think that one's like $22.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Woodford Reserve, Old Forester. If you get the Old Forester, I think it used to be called Signature. It's 100 proof. I can't remember what they're calling it now. That's another one that's like maybe $24 or $25. That's a great bottle. Just in any of these legacy brands that have this established stock and the established process and all that kind of stuff, they're always going to have a good shelf standard. They know what they're doing. Buffalo Trace is another one. Just a standard Buffalo Trace, I think, is probably, in the $25 range. And
yeah, that's kind of like where I started was with once I started with cigars was with Buffalo Trace. And then I think a good friend of mine bought a bottle of E.H. Taylor.
E.H. Taylor, yeah.
Great
That's
stuff.
A good bottle, yeah.
And so we've been kind of going back and forth between the Four Roses and the E.H. Taylor. It's like either one between those two, you can't go wrong.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, anytime you have an established, legacy brand that's been doing this for decades and decades and decades, they know what they're doing. Just trust them. They know what they're doing.
Right. So what is the new version of Heaven Hill?
So the new version so Heaven Hill is a really great company, because one of the things that they've done that's been really phenomenal for the bourbon industry is they've kind of saved all of these legacy brands. So, brands like JTS Brown, which was JTS Brown was actually George Garvin Brown's half brother who started Brown Forman, and he had his own whiskey company. And so, Heaven Hill is kind of like the keeper of the heritage. So when you're talking about Heaven Hill brands, there's an entire portfolio just of bourbons.
Okay.
They have so many different products. So the Heaven Hill that we're talking about is, the formerly Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, which had the white label with green letters on it. And then there's another Heaven Hill that is just a green label, which is starting to be the next kind of preferred secret favorite a little bit.
Okay.
Even though it's not a bonded. But what they did with that bottle was, they realized that they were losing money probably on that proposition. There was a lot more money that they could have been making on what they were bottling there. And so they just kind of pulled the 6-year off the shelf, redesigned the bottle, and then re-released it as a 7-year at a higher, probably a more, a better equilibrium for the price point, I think. And so, yeah, there are a lot of people who are really upset about that, because you used to be able to get a really phenomenal bottle of 6-year-old bourbon for $8.99 on sale. And, of course, we're going to miss that.
All good things must come to an end.
Absolutely. I mean, that could not have lasted forever. So, it was just kind of a, a strategic plan on their part to, kind of end, because, if you raise the price and raise the price and raise the price, then, you get that backlash, which we've seen with, things like Booker's, which they've had to kind of pull back on a little bit. If you just kind of pull the product and make it into a whole different new product with a new design and all that kind of stuff, it kind of, I guess, eases the sting a little bit. And, I have to say the new bottle is really nice. It's very pretty.
Yeah. And the other thing that I had heard was, when it comes to consumers going into the liquor store, if someone's looking for that $25 bottle, then that's what they're buying. But if they're looking for something a little more luxury, they're not going to go to the 30. They're going to tend to go to the 40. So it's really a good value at that price range for what it is, but it's actually going to sell more at that higher price range than it would at the lower price range.
I'll be really interested to see how that plays out, because I know a lot of people are kind of grumbling, but it's not like they took it off the shelf and turn it into $100 bottle or even a $70 bottle. I'm pretty sure I know I have the press release buried under the mountain of papers in front of me somewhere. I want to say it's like, $46.99 or something in that neighborhood.
So tell us about a bourbon that would be like the best value under $100.
I mean, like almost all, like pretty much all bourbons are going to be under $100. It's not like Scotch where it's been sitting in the cask for, 40 years sometimes. For the most part, you're talking about a product that's going to be at its peak when it's, 8 to 12 years.
Okay.
So anything, and, I don't like to tell people like, you should try this bottle or you should try this bottle. I think I like to help people, understand what they like the best. So what I would do is say, if you really like that Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, why not try a different Heaven Hill product? They have a whole bunch of different products. So like move up to, like an Elijah Craig. The Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is amazing. But, most of the Elijah Craig products that I've had are pretty phenomenal. So, it's just a matter of, if you like one thing, maybe try the step up. Most distilleries have a step up from their standard shelf product, and most of them are going to be under $100. So, it's not about what I like or what I think you should drink. Sure. I think you should drink whatever you want.
And that just comes from experience, because that's one of the things with cigars. I can't tell you what cigar you would like, tell you all the different ones I like. But unless you take the time to make that journey on your own, you're really not going to know what you like.
Oh, absolutely. And that's, I teach whiskey and cigar pairing seminars at, bourbon festivals all over the country. And I also write the bourbon or the whiskey and cigar pairing column for American Whiskey Magazine.
Oh, nice.
And so one of the things that I teach is I teach a process. I don't go in there and I say, I want you to come to the conclusion that this is the best whiskey with this cigar. I teach people the entire process. So I always recommend that people start with a flight. I think that your flight should be varied in flavor profile. And so I usually start with a wheater, and then I go with a standard, high corn bourbon, and then I'll go with something a little bit higher rye. And so usually if I'm teaching someplace, New Orleans or wherever, where I don't know, I'm not going to be able to get the same things that I can get in Kentucky, I'll do a Maker's Mark for that wheater or Larceny. And then I'll do a Jim Beam Black for that, good mid-range, high corn kind of profile. And then I'll do a Four Roses Yellow Label formerly known as Yellow Label for that, higher rye content.
I see.
So, then you kind of just try each one of those with your cigar and see which one complements it the best. And oftentimes there will be one that's a standout. So, I tell people to keep notes, keep a little journal, and try different things and just figure out what you like. One of the really weird things that we've found, I do this sometimes with some of my colleagues as well. One of the kind of interesting things that we've found so far is that Four Roses Yellow Label. They're going to fuss at me for saying this. I keep calling it Yellow Label. I don't know what else to call it. Standard Four Roses goes really well with almost every cigar I've ever tried it with.
Well, that's what we found too, because we have a group at the Cigar Lounge, and we get together and we all bring different bourbons. And I tell you what, for me, you can't go wrong with the standard Four Roses.
And it's really strange because it seems like everybody tends to agree, like, yeah, this goes with a lot of different things. And so kind of one of the things that makes that Four Roses bottle a little bit different is that it has 10 different recipes of bourbon in it.
Oh, wow.
So Four Roses has 5 different yeast strains and 2 different mash bills. And they use those to make 10 different recipes. So the single barrel will be one of those recipes. The small batch, I believe, is 3 of those recipes, the standard small batch. And then they'll have small batch limited releases that'll have, maybe 4 or 5 different recipes. But the standard Four Roses, that's all 10 recipes.
Oh, wow.
And so you get a lot more of those different congeners in there from those different yeasts. They all produce different flavors. So you just have so much more complexity in that bottle than you would have in most bottles.
Well, that's very interesting. And that makes a lot of sense because it does pair so well with so many different cigars.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What's the difference between a bourbon and a rye?
Okay, yeah, that's actually a really great question because I think a lot of people do kind of lump those in together. So they're both whiskeys, but bourbon has to be 51% corn, whereas rye has to be 51% rye.
Okay.
Each one of those can be up to 100% corn in the case of bourbon or 100% rye in the case of rye, but generally they're not. Generally, they are made with additional grains because mainly corn and rye have very low enzymatic potential. I can't remember which one is lower, but I know that they don't have enough enzymatic potential to get full fermentation on their own. So you would have to use an extract to be able to get full fermentation on those if you had them by themselves, which some people do. All the 100% ryes, they're using a malt extract to get that full sugar conversion.
Oh, okay.
But you have to put in a little bit of malted barley to get that process going, to kind of kickstart that fermentation process and make sure that all those sugars are converted into alcohol. So that's basically the difference, is just, one's 51% corn and one's 51% rye. There are some other, bourbon has a lot more rules attached to it than rye does, but that's the basic gist of it.
Well, and I've never had a rye. Is there a very distinct flavor to a rye versus a bourbon?
So the really interesting thing about rye is 2 things. So rye tends to do better at a younger age because just the rye grain has a lot more flavor in it than, just a regular corn. So when you have a really high rye whiskey, like a 95.5 or a 100% rye, at a really young age, it's still going to taste really nice. If it's been in the barrel for 2, 3, 4 years, that's still going to be a really nice barrel of whiskey.
Oh, good to know.
It's got, I always say, like, saddle leather notes and grass notes and, very floral and like very flowery, floral grass, think spring. It tastes like spring.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, all the notes that you listed are very similar to a lot of different cigar notes. So I think.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of crossover in that for sure. And then the other really interesting thing about rye whiskey is the longer it sits in a barrel, the more it starts to kind of take on the same characteristics of bourbon. As it gets a little bit older and as it sits in that barrel a little bit longer, it can take on more of the barrel characteristics to where, it's still going to be a very similar flavor profile to that bourbon.
Well, that sounds like I'll have to add one to my list. Is there a rye that you would suggest starting with?
Well, if you're in Texas, I would look up the folks at Treaty Oak. They're just right outside of Austin and Dripping Springs.
Okay.
And they've got distribution all over Texas. I really enjoyed their rye. They have a couple of different offerings. As far as something that's a shelf standard that's from a major producer, Wild Turkey makes rye, Sazerac makes rye, Brown-Forman makes rye, so you can get like maybe an Old Forester rye. Heaven Hill makes rye, which is usually, Old Overholt is Beam. And then Rittenhouse is one of Heaven Hill's ryes. And then, of course, when you get into really nice high-end ryes, you're talking about your Thomas Handy Sazerac and stuff like that. So But yeah, there are lots of really great rye whiskeys out there that you can try. And that's one of the things that a lot of the smaller craft distilleries are doing, because it does taste so much better at a younger age.
I got you. Well, that makes a lot of sense. You can get it to market a lot quicker.
Absolutely.
Okay. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate all the information. So where can everybody find you guys on social media?
Yeah, for me, you can find me at Lou Girl 502, LOU as in Louisville Girl 502. And then for American Whiskey Mag, you can find us at Whiskey Magazine, Whiskey with an E on Twitter, and American Whiskey Mag on Instagram.
Okay, awesome. And on this episode, I will place a link down below, and people can just follow the link straight to your website. I was going over your website before we started the call, and it has a lot of great information.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I hope everybody gives us a listen, gives us a look, and checks out the magazine. Subscribe. I definitely have a lot of really great cigar content in there. The current issue has La Gloria Cubana Series R Esteli number 54, the Aladino Cazador Maduro, the Black Label Trading Company Bishop's Blend, and a Herrera Esteli Miami.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, great. And you know what? We'll be in touch again, and hopefully we can have you back on, because it sounds like you got a lot of great information and will help us grow as a bourbon community as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, thank you for taking the time, and have a great weekend.
You as well. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thanks for hanging through the break. We have long-awaited guest, Adam. He's one of our Patreons, and he actually won a contest not long ago and won 4 McAuliffe cigars, and so we got him on the line. How you doing, Adam?
Doing well. How you doing today?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. I'm sitting here smoking a cigar, drinking some coffee, and, what more could I ask?
Absolutely. I hear you on that. No coffee for me tonight, but...
Now, are you a coffee drinker?
I just started drinking coffee.
Oh, man, I tell you what, I just started drinking coffee like 3 years ago, and I always hated coffee. And I started smoking cigars probably 10 years ago, but I never paired it with coffee. And the first time I did was because my wife was like, I think you'd like that, drinking and smoking a cigar. So I tried it, and I was like, holy crap, I love coffee now. And I probably drink somewhere in the neighborhood of, 4 to 8 cups a day.
Nice. How do you like your coffee?
I like it straight up black.
All right. I'm not at that point yet, but holy crap, that's a huge torch.
Yeah, that's my my pistol jetliner. It throws out a flame. I think it's about 1.5 feet long.
Oh, it seemed like it.
Yeah. So no, man, I love Sumatran coffee. I love Colombians, Kenya. I mean, I love all the coffees when I'm smoking cigars. And actually, to be honest with you, I would rather have coffee with my cigar even over like bourbon or scotch. I do enjoy bourbon and scotch, but I can drink coffee any time of the day. I can't be sitting around drinking bourbon and drinking scotch during the middle of the afternoon.
Well, you could do it like Richard Overton.
Oh, yeah.
You could have his coffee in the morning with just a little splash of whiskey.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us a little bit about how you got started into smoking cigars.
So I was working at a gas station when I was 17, and I was the kid who was fortunate enough to close the store out after it was probably 8 or 9 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And I'm like, I'm here, no cameras. I don't have to card myself.
Right.
So I bought a pack of Backwoods. So I'm like, oh.
So how was the first cigar you smoked?
Oh, I thought it was the cat's ass.
Oh, so at 17, you're smoking a Backwoods and you're like living it up.
Oh, absolutely. All my friends were ragging on me because I was the kid who wasn't smoking cigarettes like everyone else, and I'm the kid who was smoking cigars.
Nice.
And now that I look back on it, and I'm like, no, I was just smoking a freaking glorified blunt. That's all I was smoking.
Right. So what cigar would you say was like the first premium cigar that you had?
The first premium cigar I had was actually an acid Cuba Cuba.
Oh, okay. And a lot of people will be like, oh, it's an acid Cuba Cuba. And it's like, what I tell everybody is that's premium tobacco right there.
I mean,
exactly.
not everybody likes, sweet or infused cigars, but as far as being quality tobacco, it's a quality cigar.
Exactly. That was my whole thing on it. And I was actually one of the fortunate people this summer to actually go over to one of the tobacco farms in Connecticut and go to the Drew Estate Barn Smoker.
Oh, no kid, man. How was that?
It was absolutely phenomenal.
That's cool, man. Well, do you know who Fabian is?
I do.
We're going to have him on the show next week, brother.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
Yeah, I talked to him. Well, I'm sorry, not next week, the week after. I talked to him, I believe it was yesterday, and he said that as soon as he gets back, he's doing a little vacation, and when he gets back, we're going to have him on the show. So I'm excited to have him.
Awesome. That's awesome. I love to hear that.
Yeah, so just so everyone knows, Adam won one of our giveaways for just the Patreons, and it was a special package of McAuliffe Reservas and a special edition. And what's driving me crazy is he hasn't smoked them yet. I've been wanting to hear what he thinks about them, but he's actually saving them for a special event, which hopefully he has coming up soon. So tell us who you're going to smoke these special cigars with.
I am actually going to smoke them with my older brother and my uncle.
Nice. So how much older is your older brother?
He's 13 months older than I am.
Oh, wow. So you are like super close. Do you have any other brothers or sisters, or just you two boys?
I do. I have a younger brother and I have a younger sister.
Oh, okay. So are you and your older brother like close because y'all were so close in age?
I'm going to say yes, we are close. My mother went to nursing school while my older brother and I were in elementary school.
Oh, okay.
And my dad would work third shift. So basically, my older brother and I had to develop as children into more of a young adult at an earlier age.
Which means you probably got into some trouble.
Some trouble is a little bit of an understatement.
Right? Yeah,
So.
I was kind of in the same boat. My dad worked all kinds of crazy hours. He worked in transportation, and then my mom worked at Texas Instruments, which was shift work. So there was lots of times where I was left on my own to behave myself, and that didn't always work out in my best interest.
My older brother and I run an Instagram page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, we're the Tobacco Brothers.
Oh, cool. Now, have I seen you on there?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe
I'll have
so.
to go back and look.
Yeah, I do know that Bryant follows us, and I see him comment every now and then. I try every time somebody posts a comment on one of the pictures, I try to comment back.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, and you know that Bryant posts tons and tons of pictures of his face, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
He's the pretty boy of the group. So tell me about like being in Massachusetts. What's it like being a cigar smoker? I've heard that like the taxes are kind of crazy up there.
It sucks. It
Oh.
sucks being a cigar smoker in the state of Massachusetts. We like to call it Taxachusetts.
Taxachusetts. Yeah, that's not good.
Taxachusetts.
That's
No.
not good. What's the tax rate up there?
So the tax rate is 40%.
40%, man. That's tough,
40%
brother.
on the stick.
Wow.
And so not only is it 40% on the cigar, you also have your state tax, which is 6.25%. And then you also have your local tax.
That's
Yeah.
crazy, man. That's super crazy. You know, in Texas, it's pretty much straight across the board. I mean, you have some different price variances depending on like where the shop is located. I mean, you know, if you're in downtown Dallas, they're paying a lot more in rent, so they got to make some of that money back. So you're going to pay a little bit more on the cigars, but you know that's just expected.
Because the way I think about it is you're in the city, you're in a tourist attraction.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, when you're in the city, you're going to pay a little more. When you're, you know, in a smaller town, you're going to pay a little bit less. So,
Right.
you know, we're big supporters of our brick and mortars. So, you know, we like to go to as many brick and mortars as possible, really.
Absolutely. I don't blame you. I hate buying cigars online. I'd much rather go, even though I hate paying the taxes on the cigars. I understand that these are small businesses. I'd much rather support your small business than supporting a huge corporate company.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the other thing is, when you go to the cigar shop, you actually get to hang out and enjoy the camaraderie with your brothers of the leaf, you know?
Unfortunately, there are really no cigar lounges.
Man,
Yeah.
dude, that's rough.
So, yeah, tell me about it. So I like to say I have the mobile cigar lounge.
Nice.
Anybody who wants to smoke a cigar, come hop in my truck. We'll go for a drive.
Nice. Hey, well, that's what you should do. You should start a group and be like the mobile truck cigar lounge.
Oh, absolutely. That's one heck of an idea.
Hey, so that's one of the things that I've talked to people about is like, I think it was 2 weeks ago, I had a guest on, and that's what he does is actually have private parties with people smoking cigars. And I think that's a great idea, especially in this case where you can't smoke at a cigar shop or lounge. I mean, I think that's great, especially if you're, have a good weather to hang out in and enjoy a smoke.
Absolutely.
So, hey, so do you guys cook out, like grill out like we do in Texas, or y'all just eat out?
No, I have a ton of food allergies. Go figure. 5'10", 350-pound dude with food allergies, right? But no, so I try to do a lot of more home cooking.
Nice.
I love grilling. I love smoking food.
Okay. Well, see, that's what you could do. You could like grill out and smoke out and have people over to smoke cigars. So, hey, what do you do up in Massachusetts?
So I actually work for Johnson & Johnson.
Oh, okay. Cool, man.
Yeah. Everybody assume it's easier if I tell you I work for Johnson & Johnson. I actually work for one of their companies called DePuy Synthes, which deals with surgical equipment. So I deal with knee replacements, hip replacements.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I actually work in the warehouse. So I'm in charge of anything that comes in. I have to receive it. And then from me, it goes to inspection.
Oh, okay. So like replacement parts? Is that what you're...
Yes.
Okay, cool, man.
Yes. I deal with a lot of replacement parts.
Nice. So where are you and your brother and your uncle going to smoke these special McAuliffe cigars?
We're probably going to smoke them at over his house in his backyard or the front yard.
Okay.
Wherever we decide to sit down and just hang out for a little while.
Well, hopefully that'll be this coming weekend, man.
Unfortunately, it won't be. I might tell my brother, hey, you know what? I'll smoke the Leyenda with you. You can smoke the last Family Reserve, and I plan on smoking one of those Family Reserves with my uncle this weekend.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
So
we'll say, hopefully the weather's going to hold up, man, because I know it's no fun to be smoking out in the super cold.
You know what? As long as it doesn't hit 0 here, I'm okay with smoking outside.
Well, cool, man. Well, hey, bud, I appreciate you joining us on the show. I guess we'll stay in contact and tell everybody where they can find you and your brother on Instagram.
So you can find us at the Tobacco Brothers on Instagram. We try to post daily. Sometimes it doesn't exactly pan out that way for us, but you can also, we actually just started a YouTube channel as well. So you can just Google, search on YouTube, the Tobacco Brothers.
Oh, nice, man.
We'll pop right up. It's we like to do other stuff just besides cigars.
Okay.
I'm also a pipe smoker.
Oh, very nice.
So,
well, I will, on this episode that comes out Monday, I'll put a link. I'll find your YouTube channel and I'll put a link to it underneath the episode as well.
Awesome. Sounds great, brother.
Hey, man. Well, thanks for joining us. And I really hope that you and your brother and your uncle enjoy those McAuliffes. After you smoke those, I want you to let me know.
Oh, absolutely. That'll be the first thing I do.
All right, man. I appreciate it. You have a good night. Thanks again for joining us, brother.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed those interviews. It was a pleasure having Maggie and Adam on the show this week. And let's go ahead and get to the ambassador program for McAuliffe.
Yeah, yes.
I don't know how to tell you any more than I already have how cool the McAuliffe ambassador program is. They take care of their people. They send you a challenge coin with your own personal number on it. They send you a handwritten certificate. They have a Facebook group that's just for their ambassadors.
Yes, it is.
They get input. Like this last week, they were asking what cigar-related podcasts that you listen to? They actually said besides
yeah,
Cigar Talk.
yeah.
And so I voted on, I believe, 3. One was the Cigar Pulpit,
That's one I voted on.
and then the other one was Cigar Heads, and then the other one was, I believe, Cigar Hustlers.
Okay.
There might have been one fourth one, I don't remember, but anyway, give all those guys a listen, man. We're not like trying to say, hey, they're our competition.
Nope.
I love the fact that there's so many different cigar shows you can listen to, because each one of them provides a different type of show,
Tell the truth.
different information. So
It's just like you said earlier before the interview. It's about the community. It's about the Brothers of the Leaf. It's not just us.
right,
It's not
absolutely.
just us.
And so I actually got on. I was actually on Cigar Heads several weeks back, and had a great conversation with those guys. I really enjoyed it. They do a lot of sports stuff. They know a lot about sports. Speaking of sports, we got the Houston Astros playing in the World Series. Now, are you an Astros fan?
No.
Are you a Washington fan?
No.
So I know you're a Cardinals fan.
100%.
So who does that leave you rooting for?
Houston.
Okay. So you're pulling for the
Astros.
locals. Yeah.
And the reason why, because Houston used to be in the National League. You know, they used to be they used to be in our division, and we used to go against them every year. But, you know, it's still that, to me, that camaraderie. They still a part. I love them. I still love them.
Well, let me tell you this that I bet you don't know.
What's that?
Do you know where and what team the Astros started as?
Were they the Colt 45s?
Negative.
Who were they?
They were the Railroaders out of Cleburne, Texas.
Oh, my God. Now I really like it.
Dude.
Railroaders?
Right. Hey, so now Cleburne actually has a minor team called the Railroaders, and they built this awesome stadium for them. It's a big deal.
Do they have a train going through there?
No, they don't. But you know the Astros do.
Yeah. That's why I asked.
So
that's where the train came from?
yeah.
You learn something new every day.
Hey, so I actually learned that from my wife, who is from Cleburne. So I did not know that. But anyway, I'm a big Astros fan just because when I lived in the Houston area, me and some buddies used to go watch the Astros on a regular basis, and we would just make a whole day of it.
Okay.
Like the game would start at 7. Anyway, we used to go have Chinese food at lunch, and then we would go downtown, smoke cigars, and drink beer, and then the game didn't start till 7.
Oh, okay.
So we had been started at like noon. So it was always a great game, and we had great seats. I used to love going to Astros games. It was a lot of fun.
I loved going to the Cardinals game.
I've actually been to a Cardinals game in St. Louis.
The old Busch Stadium.
The old Busch
Stadium.
Stadium.
I went to that. I've been in the new one. The last game I went to, my daughters actually paid for me a ticket, and they took me back to St. Louis to a game for my birthday. Yes,
Very
they
nice.
did. I truly appreciate them ladies, because they're not little girls
You're
anymore.
right.
They're ladies.
Right. So anyway, we just want to wish the Astros good luck going forward. Hopefully they win tonight. That'll make it 2-2. They're currently ahead 2-0, and I think it's like the second or third inning. So we got that game going on in the background while we're recording the studio. We don't want to miss a single pitch. But anyway, coming up, not this coming week, but the next week, we should have Fabian, longtime Drew Estate guy.
Yes.
He recently just left, and we can't wait to have him on the show to find out what maybe he has in store for his future. Great guy, great Facebook and Instagram,
yes.
Always doing crazy stuff. But I love following him, and I reached out to him. He said he'd be more than happy to come on the show. Cool. We're going to have him on in 2 weeks. Don't want to miss that.
No, sir.
And so, really, I guess that about wraps it up for this week. Did you have anything else you want to talk about before we end?
No, sir.
All right, guys.
Hey, all I got to say is don't throw food in McDonald's.
Why?
You haven't seen it?
No.
There was altercation, and a blender was slung.
A blender was slung?
Blender.
By who?
The manager at the McDonald's.
Who threw food?
A customer.
Wow. Yeah, well, you know,
it looked like a Tyson fight.
You know what? If you're throwing food in public, you deserve some kind of altercation.
100%. You know, John Belushi is gone. Rest his soul. There are no more food fights.
Right.
So
at least not in public.
And oh man.
So
come on.
All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this week's show.
Yes, sir.
And until next week,
keep smoking.